Sports, a bridge that brings people together. And here in the Commonwealth, it's no different. From the gridiron to the hardwood and beyond, we all have a team we love to talk about. Now for the teams you care about, here's Heartland Sports Live with Trevor Rice.
Hey, welcome into Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we are live streaming this afternoon with ESPN Radio 1061.com. We'll get into a big chunk of what happened here in the last week at the high school level. But I want to welcome into the studio right now Danny Payne, who is the president of the EFFL, starting up their first year, their first season, the Elizabethtown Flag Football League. Danny, I appreciate you popping in and talk about this league.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about bringing NFL flag to Elizabethtown. This is going to be an exciting season for us, starting on March 14th.
And you come in, you start this thing, and we were talking off the air, kind of a little bit how you started this thing, but why? Why was this a good time to just all of a sudden start this league?
Well, my wife doesn't love for me to tell this story, but the truth of the matter is that I have an 8-year-old son that's about 5 feet tall and weighs about 100 pounds, and he looks like the prototypical kid you would want to put helmets and pad on and say, hey, that kid should play football. And my wife is absolutely like, no, that kid is not playing football. And so we were at the Pro Bowl in Orlando 2 years ago, and there's this whole setup that goes on the day before the Pro Bowl off-site where they have all kinds of stuff for the kids to do, and I went to the Pro Bowl without my kid, so I was walking through to check it out to be like, hey, should we bring him and do this? And we're watching the teams practice, and I look over to the other side, and there were turf fields over there, and there were kids playing football. And so I walked over there, and it was flag football. And so I asked some people what was going on, and they were telling me it was actually the National NFL Flag Football Tournament for the upper divisions, which are the high school leagues. And the winners of those games were going to get to play at halftime of the Pro Bowl. So we watched, and I probably stood there for an hour watching those games. And it was high level, very skilled football players. And it was great football. And so we came home, and my wife was like, if you want your son to play football, you should figure out, if there's a league nearby that we can do that. The closest league was in Louisville. And even when I checked on their website, I wasn't even sure that they were fully 100% functioning. Maybe they weren't keeping their website up and running. And so she said, well, why don't you make some calls and figure out how you get that going? So I got busy, let it go. The next year, we're watching the Pro Bowl. Sure enough, those kids are on television. My wife's like, hey, you got really far with that flag football thing, didn't you? And that was kind of my gut check to be like, yeah, if I want my son to be able to play football as a kid, I'm going to have to get into this. And I made a couple calls. Luckily, I have some friends that I've coached soccer and basketball with over the years that said, yes, I'll help you. And here we are today with the help of some very, very good people and some small businesses here in E-Town that were able to kind of throw some money at this for us. We're just weeks away from our first season.
Now, you're going to have multiple divisions. It says here 160 kids. You're going to divide that amongst, 3 divisions?
Yep.
Talk about that and elaborate on what exactly that all entails.
Yeah, so for anybody that's listening to this that did sign their children up, I've got plenty of emails and phone calls and questions about this, so it's a great question. When we did sign-ups, we broke the divisions out between everything between U6 all the way up to U14. And the idea was that we could have a U6, a U8, a U10, a U12, and a U14 division. In 160 kids is an amazing number for a first-year league to get that many people to sign up. Honestly, I was hoping that we could get above 100. But the problem is when you only have 160 kids is to have enough teams so that your children aren't playing the same team every week. We had to kind of merge some of the age groups. The one thing we did not want to merge was U6. We felt like the 4 and 5-year-olds did not need to play anybody but 4 and 5-year-olds, so we have 4 U6 teams. In the U8 and U10 divisions, we had enough that we could kind of meld those together and put 6 teams together. So we have 6 teams in our U10 division, which is a melding of U8 and U10. And then we actually have 8 teams combined in our U12 and our U14 division, because the U14 division was the one that we had the least amount of kids sign up for. So what we did is we just spread out the U14 kids among the U12 kids, and we've got 8 teams in that division.
Now, being a first year, obviously there's going to be some growing pains with this. What is the main accomplishment in year one for you guys? What are you looking to try to accomplish here in the first season?
Number one is communication to my parents, to my coaches, to the officials and volunteers that work for us. I mean, I have coached and been a part of so many different youth sports organizations. I have 5 children. I've been through the ringer, and I've coached in all kinds of different leagues. The number one thing for me was I wanted to make sure that I'm communicating to my parents and to my coaches that volunteer for us what's going on. Like, I don't ever want them to be in a void of, what's going to happen with the league? When are we practicing? When does this happen? What weeks are they expecting for us to play? So we have posted the schedule online already. We've already contacted all of our coaches. We have a coaches meeting set to come up where we're going to go through all the rules. We have an officials meeting so that the officials are going to be able to review all the rules of the league. And as a matter of fact, those are happening at the same time so that our officials can meet with our coaches. There's no confusion over what the coaches deem to be the rules and what the officials deem to be the rules. So I would say communication is the number one thing for me. I just don't want any of my parents feeling like we were making decisions as a league about what we're doing that they didn't know about. And I agree, there are going to be growing pains. I know there's going to be weeks where, little Johnny's going to come running up and saying, hey, we were supposed to have practice on field A, and that team's over there, and which field do we go to? I mean, I know those things are going to happen, and as much as I would like to plan for and hope that it's all going to go perfectly, it won't. And I would ask that if everybody's patient with us and they show up on time, we have the space for everyone, and we will make it right.
Danny Payne, the president of the Elizabethtown Flag Football League, joining us here on Heartland Sports Live. Let's go ahead and talk about the scheduling, the venue. You're going to be playing at the sports park. So talk about how all of that came about and pretty much how the season's going to go for all of these 3 different divisions.
Yeah, so what's very unique about how we set this up, and this was the idea of our affiliate National Flag Football, who works directly with the NFL for us, was to set up practice 1 hour before every game. So what's nice about the situation for the parents is they can show up at 9 o'clock, kids practice for 45 minutes to an hour, and as soon as that practice is over, they're going to walk right off the practice field, right onto the game field. Game's going to happen, and they're done for the weekend. There's no practice on Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Monday. It's just 1 hour practice, 1 hour game. So it takes the complicating of how you get weeknights and after school and all that stuff. It takes all that stuff out of it. So very simple. You're going to show up to the sports park at your allotted time for practice. Practice will always be right before the game. You'll get they'll get to a warm up, have practice. Coach will go through the plays. Since it's 5-on-5, it's pretty simplistic. They're only going to be running 4 or 5 plays. Defenses, you're going to be man-to-man or zone, so you're either going to cover an area or a man. You're ripping flags off. We're not worried about practicing, how you're going to get down and hit anybody. And so the simplicity of all of it is that it kind of goes back to the old days of backyard football, right? You got your guys, I got my guys. We're going to go out and get on the field, and we're just going to see what happens. But we're very excited to be at the sports park because of the 2 turf fields they have up there. And what's going to be really cool, the first time you get up there, it's going to look like chaos, but I promise we're going to have this set up the right way. We're going to run 4 games on 1 regular-sized football field. So everything's going to go one way, 40 yards, and we'll have 4 games or 4 practices actually happening on the field, coned off, going on at one time. So when you get up there at 9 o'clock, you may see 4 games are happening at the same time, but go to your allotted field at your allotted time, and your team will get on the field at that time.
Now, you obviously in year 1 you're gonna go with what you have now.
Yep.
Year 2, do you look to try to expand this? 160 kids now. Do you look to try to grow that number for next year, and do you try to raise the age even, possibly going to the high school level?
Yeah, I had a lot of requests early on when we first opened registration about high school kids. There's 2 concerns I have. Number one, the U14 age group was the least amount of registration that I got, which tells me that the 7th and 8th graders who I thought would sign up we didn't get as many of those as I thought we would. Secondly, I've actually got a lot of high school football players that signed up to officiate for us. So if I have high school age kids officiating, then it challenges me. I cannot have high school age kids officiating high school age games. I would only be able to have adults, officiating high school age games. But I would like to open it because I've seen high school kids play the game, and it's a lot of fun. To answer your first question, yes, I do want to see it expand. Again, referencing back to the National Flag Football, who's our NFL affiliate, they told us to expect that in year 2 that we could easily double in size. If we double in size, then we're going to need the sports park to help us accommodate more time. There's only 2 football fields up there. We get into those older ages, I would need to use half of one football field and go 50 yards one way and 50 yards the other. The way that we have it broken up only works up to the U14 age group. So, we'd have a little bit of decisions to make, or would we have to find a third field for the older age group? So, to me, growing would be a great thing because that means that the excitement that we created from this first season picked up. Kids saw other kids wearing these jerseys and said, "Hey, how do I find out about that? How do I get involved in that?" So if we have the problem of figuring out where we play more games, then I think that's a problem we can solve.
Danny Payne, president of the Elizabethtown Flag Football League, joining us here on Heartland Sports Live. You look to try to expand this thing. Is there interest outside of Elizabethtown that people who've tried to sign up for this, or is there interest, for example, down in LaRue County, or these outside places who don't necessarily have this league available to them, that E-Town's close enough they can come and bring their kids here?
Yes, so I have, when I was going through the registration process, I have kids from Litchfield, I have kids from Meade County, I have kids from Fort Knox, I have kids from Hodgenville. I'm trying to think the furthest that I saw on our list. But yes, I mean, we have kids driving in from 20 and 30 minutes. And I'll tell you, I don't know if this got on your all's radar, but we did a free skills clinic up at E-Town High School. It was the Saturday before the Super Bowl. So was that February 1st? And we had 100 kids show up. It was freezing cold outside, spitting rain. 100 kids showed up for that. And a lot of them were from out of town. And I had more people walk up to me and say, the reason why I'm going to sign my kid up for this, even though it takes us a half an hour to get to E-Town, is because you're going to practice at 10 o'clock and play at 11 o'clock. And I don't have to worry about how I'm going to get them to practice during the week. And I had a lady say to me, if you all ever change that, we won't sign up next year. But as long as you do it that way, we'll sign up every year. So right now, I mean, I would say 20 to 30 minutes away has kind of been that sweet spot as far as what I've seen on the registration. We marketed through Facebook to try to, see what the reach is. And Fort Knox, Brandenburg, Litchfield, that was about as far as I saw people willing to drive to come into E-Town to play.
Now you're going to have set teams for all 3 divisions. How did you come up with which teams you were going to use?
Yeah, so that's a funny question. We had a board meeting around that, and some of the I think all but 2 of our board members are going to coach a team, including myself. And I'm a lifelong Browns fan, so if you look on our website, you'll see that there's a division in U6 and U14 that are Browns. Of course, everybody made fun of me for the fact that all these kids are going to be like, oh no, I'm on the Browns. But so yes, that's how the Browns ended up in 2 different divisions. But so we actually asked during the volunteer registration process for the coaches to tell us which teams they would like. If they had a favorite team, pick your favorite team. I figure if you're going to coach a team, at least you get a shirt that says, has your team name on it. Outside of that, if we didn't have a coach that had a specific team, we just kind of looked for popular teams based upon what we thought kids would enjoy. So if there was not a coach specifically asking for that team, we just randomly picked.
Are all the coaches and officials then right here in Hardin County?
Yes, background checks on everybody. We've run. Another nice thing about using the NFL is they had a background check system built into their registration process. So on our online registration process, if somebody wanted to volunteer, they went in, it ran a background check on them. Once they cleared, we could allow them to coach.
Obviously, you have goals for what you're trying to accomplish here, and we've already kind of talked about that. But what would make the perfect season for you for all 3 of these divisions?
Well, perfect season number 1 was that the weather is good, that I'm not raining out games. But again, if I can get through a season, I don't have any children or injured, that'd be number 1. Number 2, that these kids have fun and find football in a different way than maybe they have before. And one of the things that I spoke to our board about when we first started this was, even my son, who I was telling you about earlier, 5 feet tall, 100 pounds, if he went and played tackle football right now, they'd probably put him on offensive or defensive line. He's just a big kid. But he would want to play quarterback or running back or wide receiver. In NFL flag, everybody's a quarterback, a running back, or a wide receiver. And I think that's the most exciting thing about this and I really do truly believe that these coaches are going to do everything possible to make sure those 5 kids that are on the field, that they're going to find a way to make sure everybody's touching the ball. Yes, it's fun to win and lose. I mean, I get that. And one of the reasons through the registration process that we created this, buddy request system is so kids can play on the same teams. And I had people ask me, will that make it where people can load up and have talented teams? I said, sure, who cares? If they want, if you think 5 of your buddies are better than 5 of their buddies, ask for your buddies to be on your team. I mean, who's shying away from competition when you're playing football? But I also don't believe that a coach is going to say, well, I'm not going to let him carry the ball because we're losing today. I don't believe that. I mean, these are grown adults that, yes, you want to win a football game, but second, the idea around this whole aspect of flag football was that we're putting 5 kids on the field. They're all eligible. They're all capable of running, catching, and throwing the football. So my goal for the league would be is that these kids find football in a way that they haven't before, and they have a lot of fun doing it.
Your wife, obviously not wanting your kid to participate in tackle football. Now, you being a parent and probably communicating with other parents on a regular basis with kids that your child's age is at, is there more of that growing concern with tackle football in today's age when it comes to letting your kid participate in sports? And is flag football pretty much the future, possibly, for a lot of youth players who are trying to participate in some athletic event?
Well, I think I'm getting a little bit more of a jaded view because right now I'm running a flag football league. So of course, a lot of the parents that I've talked to that have registered are telling me the reason why they're excited about this is because they don't want their kids playing tackle. So I'm not getting a chance to talk to the parents that do have their kids in tackle football. And if I'm being honest with you, I probably would have signed my son up for tackle football a long time ago if my wife didn't say no. I would tell you that, yes, I believe that as more science research comes out about, concussions and the amount of hits these kids take between the day that helmet and pads get put on them. And I want to say in tackle it starts around 6 or 7 years old. I mean, if you can reduce the number of hits between 6 and 7, and like I said, 14, when their muscles and their bone structure is a little bit, more sturdy and ready for that, I just don't see how that's a bad thing. And I don't know the answer to whether flag football is completely the future. I think that it's a very safe alternative for kids to figure out how much they like football. So if you have a child that's kind of saying, hey, I want to try football, this seems like a really natural way to say, hey, here's a non-invasive way to put on a jersey and throw on some flags and see if you like running and catching and passing. And if you have a lot of fun with it, let's do this for a while. And if you really want to take it to the next level, we can always talk about the pads and helmet down the road.
Danny Payne of the Elizabethtown Flag Football League, president, joining us here on Heartland Sports Live. Next year, people who are looking to sign their kids up, because obviously you're full this season, do you have a website and a time frame in which people can go and sign up maybe for the next season?
Yes. So right now you can already go out to our Facebook page. I think it's at eTown Flag and follow because we post stuff on there almost on a daily basis. The website's etownflagfootball.org. And this season, I want to say we started registration in October for a March deadline. So I think we had 4 months of registration. I plan on doing that again next year. There's nothing wrong with opening registration early because it gives everybody kind of a long runway to get ready for it. As a matter of fact, this year we did an early registration where I waived the $15 off the registration fee if you registered early, because it gives us an idea of kind of what the early numbers are going to be and if we need to add a field or do any of those things. But so I would follow Facebook, Twitter, get on the website. On the website, my phone number and email address is on there. You can always send me an email, and that way, if you want information when we get closer to next season, I'm more than happy. I've created a list of people already that have asked since registration closed that I'm going to reach out to when registration opens next year.
All right, Danny, we wish you luck on your first season. Should be a lot of excitement in the air for all the parents that are going to have kids participating in this, and we're going to wish you luck in getting this thing grown even further. Maybe it will double for next year.
That would be awesome.
Thank you, Danny.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me.
Heartland Sports Live will continue with Mike Matheson of the News Enterprise joining me here in the studio. Coming up next, we're going to cover everything that happened in the girls and boys 5th Region tournaments here on 106.1 ESPN Radio. And welcome back into Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM. We are live streaming this afternoon with ESPN Radio 1061.com. I have Mike Matheson of the News Enterprise joining me here on the show as we get ready to talk about all the action that has occurred over the last week plus with the girls' 5th Region tournament, which wrapped up on Saturday in the championship game, E-Town advancing. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. And then the boys' tournament will continue tomorrow night, 7 p.m. from Taylor County High School, and that game will tip off at 7 p.m. That'll be E-Town and Bardstown. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But, Mike, a whole bunch of good basketball we've been watching here over the last week plus.
Yes, sir. First of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And great basketball. It's fun to watch. Just fun to watch.
And I don't know if it's as much the competition on the floor, which has been good, but the crowds have been showing up for these games.
The crowds have been great. They whine too much. Seriously, they whine way too much. Just enjoy the fact that kids are just going at each other and just playing their tails off. And it's just I think the crowds are way too distracted by missed calls they don't agree with. Guess what? Life's tough. It happens. Go forward. Okay? The E-Town Bardstown girls game, that crowd was really good. E-Town Bethlehem girls game, crowd was really good. The games at Taylor County, all the crowds have been really good. Just enjoy. I understand, I get the whole part, but these are still 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old high school kids playing basketball, trying to do their best. You know, officials are going to make mistakes, officials are going to miss calls, and officials are going to screw up. Deal with it. Just like our kids miss free throws, our kids miss layups, our kids miss shots, our kids miss. How many times do you hear a parent go, or somebody say, "How did he miss that shot?" Like you would make it every single time. You know, no one misses shots on purpose.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. But the energy that all the crowds have brought. I mean, the energy is great for high school. In addition to the pep bands being there, that helps a lot too. You know,
100% it does.
So just the entire aura, the energy, the atmosphere, everything, and all these region games have been fantastic.
Like last night, for example, during the LaRue County and E-Town game, the bands were competing against each other pretty much.
That's fun. That's good stuff. I mean, you don't get that in a December 15th game, right?
No.
You don't. This is when it counts. This is when it matters. Everyone knows this is what you've been working all year for and last summer for is right now. But yeah, when the crowds bring that kind of energy, it's just fun. It's just fun.
All right, so we are going to Rupp Arena, at least on the girls' side, with the 5th Region champions being the Elizabethtown Lady Panthers. 11th time in their history where they've done that. Right? Was the 11th time they won the 5th Region? Yeah, I think that's what I saw tweeted out. And so they will be playing a noon game at Rupp Arena this Wednesday against a Bullitt East team, which I have not gotten to see. You've seen them once from our conversation here before. So I guess, what do you expect?
I expect a really good basketball game. There are two good coaches, two very good teams. Bullitt East is led by Lexi Taylor, who's going to Georgetown College. Very good player. Bullitt East is guard-oriented. Yet they average 34 rebounds a game, something along those lines, so they will crash the board really well. They probably play 9 or 10 girls. He goes pretty deep on his bench. And this time of year, you usually don't see that. But he'll go 9 or 10 deep. They like to run. They like to go. They average 65, 66 points a game. They can fill it up. They will run. They will get it and go. They can slow it down. They like the three ball. They've taken like 550 threes this year. So they're not afraid to shoot those. They averaging like 17 or 18 threes a game. Kind of same thing as E-Town. And I just think it's a very good opening round game. This is not going. I don't think this is going to be a blowout either way. I think this is going to be a fourth quarter game. Who can stay out of first of all? Who can stay out of foul trouble? First and foremost.
And we saw Whitney Hay get in foul trouble during the championship game.
You also saw how good E-Town played with her on the bench. Obviously, they want her on the floor.
Yeah.
But when you have Ellie Taylor and Kayra Freeman taking care of the basketball, Kayra Freeman's sick. That girl's good. Bardstown and Bethlehem had zero answers for Kayra Freeman. Zero. They could not guard her. They couldn't. And the pass that she threw to Rakia Cormier in the third quarter on a dime was disgustingly good. And I think that's the X factor, personally, is what Kayra and Ellie can bring to the point guard position because they're vastly different. And if Kayra needs a break, and Kayra went to Donnie Sweeney, Coach Sweeney, because Kayra was guarding Amelia Hodges, right? And Kayra was all over Amelia Hodges. All over Amelia Hodges. Well, Kayra went to Coach Sweeney and said, Coach, I need Ellie to play the point because I need to concentrate right now on guarding Amelia. Who does that? Who has enough self-awareness and team awareness that says, get me off the point right now. I'm spending too much energy playing defense and let Ellie take over. Well, E-Town has that. Not every team has that. Right? Not every team has 2 point guards, and if you had Whitney, a third point guard, that can help run the offense. It doesn't happen. So I just think both teams are guard-oriented. And then that's just who both teams are. They're very guard-oriented. They like playing 5 out. They do get inside. I think E-Town might have a little bit better inside game than Bullitt East, but Bullitt East is still a really good basketball team.
2 players I thought that elevated their play in this tournament. You mentioned one of them, Ellie Taylor. I thought she stepped up in this tournament and provided a lot more than what she has, especially if you go back to the regular season, even the district tournament. Upped her point total. And Sydney Clark, who was the player of the 5th region tournament for me.
Sydney Clark is just okay. The last 2 games, Bardstown and Bethlehem, she had 41 rebounds and 12 points. And she told me, I don't care if I score. I know what my job is. I know what my role is. If they pass me the ball, my job is to make it. But I know what my role is to grab rebounds. She had 41 rebounds in 2 games, 23 and 18. She's averaging 13 rebounds a game since she's been back in the starting lineup. That girl's just good, and she's as selfless of a teammate as I've ever seen in my life.
She very much is.
She just wants to win. She just wants to help her team. She just wants to do whatever coach said. She knows her role. She doesn't want to go outside her role. She doesn't want to score 40 a game. She blocks, 5-6 shots a game. She blocked 5 shots against Bethlehem. She's just a force inside. She gets She gets her hands on deflections when they run the 2-3 zone. When they run the zone, she gets her hands on balls. She blocks shots. She does everything, and just there was.
She doesn't look like she puts much effort at times. I know, which is scary.
That's her persona, and I've talked to her last year about it. That's her persona. Sydney Clark looks like she doesn't care. Honest to God's truth, Sydney Clark looks like, if you didn't know who Sydney Clark was and walked into a gym, you would swear she doesn't care. And she's as competitive as any kid on the floor. There was a point late in the first half against Bardstown where she put her hands on her shorts, on her knees, because she was exhausted. She's only been back a month. No, she's only been back 3 weeks from missing 6.
Yeah.
Okay? So she's not conditioned yet. I mean, she's still huffing and puffing, and she was whipped late in the first half against Bardstown. And not what point in time did she look at coach and said, take me out, and I need a break. Nope, never happened. Now, she played through that, and then sometime in the middle of the third quarter, Coach Sweeney gave her a break, and she was exhausted. Then when I went up and talked to her after the game, she looked at me, she just laughed. She goes, I need a nap. But you're right. If they get 15 to 25 rebounds from her against Bullitt East is going to have a hard time with that. Just going to have a hard time with it. And she played with 4 fouls late in the game against against Bethlehem, and didn't. That team's really good. They morphed themselves into a different team, and they're just playing high-level basketball right now. I mean, they held Bethlehem, a 70-point-a-game team, to 47 points. 23 points under their season average. 23 points under their season average. E-Town plays defense like that, they're going to be in every single basketball game, if not win the majority. I mean, that defense was incredibly good.
Mike Matheson of the News Enterprise joining us here on Heartland Sports Live. So let's look at the overall play from the 5th Region Tournament this year. There was a couple of games that were just, not very competitive, but for the most part, we were talking about the crowds. And, you had a couple of good games. I thought the environment in that E-Town-Bardstown matchup was good. The championship game lived up, I think, to the hype that we were anticipating in a rematch for the 5th Region Championship from the last year. And how about those seniors for E-Town, especially Ellie Taylor, who made the move from Bethlehem
and then
to E-Town, and then she beat her former team, and as a senior now will get to play in the Girls Sweet 16 tournament.
That killed her last year when Bethlehem beat them. It just killed her. I didn't ask her, but you just know it did. So I'm sure she had a mini chip on her shoulder, didn't tell anybody, and then came in and played. She had a level of confidence about her that was just different. It was just different. She was ready to take the three. She did not play out of control. She did not get the charging call she did last year against them, where she would drive in, dish, continue. Someone would take a charge after she had dished off the ball. Those didn't. She stopped that. And so she's learned how to play a little bit differently. Now, when Coach Sweeney moved her to the wing this year, she got off playing point. I think she found a different level to her game because she's never played as a wing player before. She's always been the point guard. Well, now I think she's a far better player now coming off the wing. And then when she goes back to the point, when Kayra goes to the wing, she just has this different vision of the court that she didn't have before because she only saw the court from one visual standpoint, and that was point.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's seeing the floor from both wings and both corners. So it's a whole different look, and she still throws nasty passes. She still hands out 3, 4, 5 assists a game, and she's staying out of foul trouble, and she's hitting threes confidently. When she comes in and ready to take a three, this is going in. It may not go in, but you can tell she's just.
She was expressing some emotion on a few of her shots she made during the tournament.
Absolutely. And there's one time I distinctly remember she went in, got an and one, and just screamed like just all this pent up emotion just came out, and she just took her game to another level. There's no doubt about it, and she proved why Northern Kentucky is getting a really good basketball player.
So let's just look at the overall play of the 5th Region Tournament before we talk about the boys' side here in the final segment of today's show. Let's look at the overall tournament. How would you evaluate? First of all, I just want to say Thomas Nelson High School has been a perfect spot to have a tournament.
I love Thomas Nelson High. The gym is as good a gym as there is to shoot pictures in. Their lighting is tremendous. I love the gym. It's nice. It's got the little double levels. You can stand up top and look. You got stuff behind the benches. I think it's that is a well-made high school basketball gym. It's spacious, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's just a really nice gym.
Yeah,
and the great host. Now, I just think the 5th Region was exactly how we thought. It was going to be E-Town and Bethlehem in the finals, and that's what everyone thought, and that's what it was. Bethlehem had a harder opener against Central than they did against Green. But everyone knew Bethlehem was coming, and then it was just what was E-Town. The whole question was what was E-Town going to do against Bardstown, right? That was because they lost 3 weeks ago, and then after the first quarter, E-Town owned Bardstown, and Bardstown had no answer, just had no answer for E-Town. Whitney Hay played great basketball. She played under control. Yes, she got in foul trouble, but you know what she did after she got in foul trouble when she came back in the fourth quarter against Bethlehem? When she got in foul trouble, sat the last 6 minutes of the third, and then came in the fourth. She just played really smart, intelligent, high IQ basketball. And that's what you want out of your player that's going to Belmont. That's what you want out of your Division I player. She just played incredibly smart. The other thing E-Town did very well, for a team that likes to run, they played slow ball really well. And when Kayra dribbles like that and you can't guard her, I just don't know. And then, then she's dishing off to Rakia. Kenzie Franklin did a really nice job playing defense. The 7th grader comes in. My goodness, Leah Macy looks like she fits. That's what I wrote today. She looks like she fits. She wasn't. Now she might have been scared to death inside, right? You never saw that, did you?
You never saw it.
You never
though.
saw it. Never saw it. I mean, her butterflies. She might have had 9 million butterflies in her stomach, but you never saw it. And so E-Town just played just brilliant basketball against Bardstown.
Which I'm curious how much more she grows, only being a 7th grader.
I don't know, but she could get to. I don't know, but she can probably get to. Imagine her being 6'3", 6'4", with the outside shot that she has. That girl, that's a talented young. And I tweeted this the other night when they played Bardstown. I said, Leah Macy's going to be a handful next year, and she won't be in high school yet.
Isn't that scary? How we have some competitive ball players here in Hardin County that are only 8th graders, 7th or 8th graders.
And look at Des Bryant and Ellis Shearer at North Hardin. They've been on the varsity for 3 years, and they just finished their freshman year. They had minutes as 7th and real minutes, starting minutes as 7th graders and 8th graders, and now freshmen. So by the time Des Bryant and Ellis Shearer come back next year as sophomores, that'll be their 4th year of high school. Whitney started in 8th grade, but Whitney says, I was never like that. Like, she looked at Leah Mason and goes, I was never like that in 7th grade. I couldn't do what Leah does right now. She goes, you put me in a game as a 7th grader like this, she goes, I'd have been scared to death. Not Leah. She just, it's,
Yep.
Yeah, I just, so it's going to be fun, and the winner's going to get Ryle, I think. I think Ryle's going to beat Letcher County Central, and Ryle's the defending champ. They have Maddie Shear, Miss Basketball candidate, who's going to University of Oregon. Now, she got injured in the game against Butler, so I don't know how healthy she is, but she missed the majority of the game. But Ryle, don't be deceived by Ryle's record. They played a gauntlet schedule this year. They played anybody and everybody. So they are the defending state champions, and they are a good basketball team, period.
Mike Matheson of the News Enterprise will stay in the studio with us. E-Town and Bola East girls basketball play in the Sweet 16 tournament this Wednesday, noon tip-off. You'll catch it right here, the KHSAA coverage on 106.1 ESPN Radio, and we will live stream it with ESPNRadio1061.com. We'll come back and talk boys 5th region tournament action right after this. It's Heartland Sports Live. Welcome back into Heartland Sports Live. One more segment here this afternoon. And hey, it's Trevor Rice with you on 106.1 ESPN Radio. And joining me right now still, Mike Matheson of the News Enterprise. We talked about the 5th region girls action in our last segment. Now we're going to get to the boys' side of things. And you want to talk about a couple of just looking at the atmosphere, the way the games were played, the emotions last night, not only on the floor but from the crowds. The semifinal round last night lived up to the hype, even though E-Town did pull away against LaRue County. How about Jaquias Franklin? Ever since banging his head there earlier in the week on the floor, in which I thought maybe he was going to have a concussion, I didn't hear anything about it. He was in the game last night. He played lights out in that 4th quarter.
Jaquias proved why he's one of the best players in the state. Period. And I just saw him against. I saw him the night before, in the stands watching the girls. So I went up and he goes, yeah, I'm good. I'm playing. Okay, that's all I need to know. Jaquias Franklin has gotten to me has gotten so much better this year in various ways. One, I think, especially late in the year, he's picked his times when he's taking shots, and he's picked his times when he doesn't. He's kind of, I think he's learned I think, this is just me, I think he's learned that mode where right now it's not the best time to take a shot. Let's run through it. Let's figure it out. And let's see what we get. Now, the same shot might be available in 15 to 20 seconds, but once you run through the offense and reversed it and done some things, that same shot may be even more open, because you've run through the offense. Mm-hmm. And just what they did last night to LaRue in the 2nd quarter proves they can put it up on anybody at any point in time. And they were like 8 for 29 from 3, so it wasn't so much the 21 they missed, but you made 6 in the 2nd quarter when you were like 6 for 8, maybe 6 for 9, and that changed every aspect of the game. Kaya hit 2, Cam hit 1, Cam Den hit 1, Jaquias, Peanut hit 1, Alondre Murphy, Jaquias hit 1. And then late in the game, they played slow ball. And let's face it, the teams that like to transition really well aren't always the best at slowing the ball down. Right? They're not always the best.
But they played it to perfection last night.
They were brilliant at it. They ran it and 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 made LaRue get out of the 2-3 zone. And LaRue was in the triangle and 2 at some point in time during the first half too. But made LaRue come out of the 2-3 zone, play defense, and then some of the dishes from Jaquias to Miles Fields was just not even nice. They were so good. But and to me, and I talked to Coach Hare after the game, and he said in practice he implored his team when they played slow down, just keep moving it side to side, keep doing what I ask you. It's going to get open. And Coach Hare obviously was correct because that's what they did, and it became open. And then obviously now LaRue has to get defensively. They have to start fouling. They have to start taking chances. Then they start making, and then it's just all over. But E-Town played just outstanding basketball against Marion, and then again against LaRue. Outstanding.
So then we find out E-Town, they win by 30. They advance to the 5th Region Championship game, which is going to be played tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Here on 106.1 ESPN Radio. Then we wait for John Hardin in Bardstown. We knew that was going to be a barn burner till the end. Bardstown's crowd shows up for their games. They're loud. They don't like any call that goes against their team, and they think that every small touch of their players needs to be called a foul. And we won't get into all that, but Bardstown, where they collapsed in the first meeting between these two teams, they played 4 quarters plus overtime, and they were playing with John Hardin each and every step.
Well, I listened to you guys last night, and by the way, you did a nice job again, and I told you that the other day. I think Bardstown really, really learned from the first game, and I also think J.J. Traynor learned from the first game. I'm not saying he was non-existent in the first game, but if you go back to the stats, he had, 10, 12 points? He was just a player. Last night, and just listening to it, because I wasn't there, but listening to it, he proved why he's going to Louisville. Right, 30 points, 14, 15 rebounds, however many block shots. I mean, if you're going to go to a major D1 program, those are the games you need to step up in, period.
And he did, especially late.
Exactly. That's what you need your leaders to do. That's what they have to do. Because let's face it, when he goes to Louisville next year, there's going to be guys on the team better than him, right? Because that's what happens when you go to college basketball. You're not only an incoming freshman, and you've got guys that are on the team that are better than you. So right now, if you're stepping on the floor and you feel like you're the best player on the floor, prove it. Just prove it. Play smart basketball, stay out of foul trouble, do what you need to do, and when your team needs you, don't shy away from the spotlight. And he didn't. Point blank, he did. I'm not saying anyone from John did, but he didn't. I think, and I read Coach McCurry's comments that are in the paper today, and he just said they were more physical than us, but we didn't match their physicality. We didn't match them. I know Trayvon got in foul trouble, Alex got in foul trouble, and listen, team players get in foul trouble all the time. And if you're an elite player, you need to learn, and you should know by now how to play basketball in foul trouble. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You should know as long as the officials, and I don't want to rag on the officials, but as long as they're calling a consistent game,
which there was times I don't know if they were too consistent.
Okay, well then that's an issue. But look, if you're going to call a hand check in the first 45 seconds, you need to call a hand check the entire game. That's why I hate the hand check call. Hate it with a passion. Hate it, hate it, hate it. You can't call it in the first quarter, not call it again until late in the third. It's just because people hand check all the time. So you either call it or you don't. But as long as the officials are consistent with whatever they're calling, players know how to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Every player knows how to adjust. So you adjust. And I look, John came back, did the right thing. Both teams were incredibly mediocre from three, right?
Yep.
And it's just Bardstown made the plays down the stretch, and then made all the plays in overtime. Made them all. Didn't they? jump out to a 7-0. They were up, scored the first 7 points. And let's face it, you overtime, you're down 7. That's a really hard comeback.
That is really hard.
It's just difficult, right? Now, it's different if you're down 7 with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter like John was, because you still have 4 minutes to go, and you've kind of – but you're down 7. You're down 7 in overtime, and the minute has already passed, and so now there's 3 minutes to go. And now Bardstown has all the overtime momentum, and it's just hard to come back from. It's just really hard to come back from. But you have to salute Coach McCurry and those seniors. They had a great run. Alex, Trayvon, Preston, and all the other guys, JR and Kennard, all those guys who...
they had over 100 wins at the high school level.
Well over. And wherever they go to college and play basketball, they're going to get 3 really quality players, but even better quality kids. And it sucks to lose, right? Because if you lose at Rupp, at least you made it to Rupp, and it still sucks to lose, but at least you made it to Rupp. And now that goal is not accomplished. Yeah. And so now it's up to E-Town, right?
How do you like that matchup?
Well, E-Town beat them pretty handily 3 weeks ago, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Beat them by 12-14. And let's face it, they have to know. And here's the thing about E-Town that I will say again. You just came off of playing 2 6'7" kids and did a masterful job in not letting Mark Good get the ball. Right? E-Town did a great job of making it incredibly hard for LaRue to throw an entry pass to Mark Good. Mark never got clean, rarely got clean passes. They were tipped, deflected, whatever.
To be fair, I also thought that Miles Fields in both meetings did a pretty good job defending him.
100%. And that's why I've always said this, is if the referees let Miles Fields bang bodies with the big guys, which they should, because that's part of the game, then Miles Fields it can play that game. And thankfully, last night the officials let them bang bodies, and Miles did a great job against Mark Good, an outstanding job against Mark Good. But he also had a lot of help because Alondre Murphy told me they knew the offside ball guards had to come down and collapse if Mark ever got the ball and make him kick it back out, and the ball pressure guards had to make it really hard for Belton or the Childresses to get the ball into Mark.
Which Alondre did a couple of points with his long arms.
Exactly. So now they're going to Bardstown, which obviously JJ Trainer's taller than anybody that E-Town has, but they've played those guys. Both teams, E-Town and Bardstown, want to go. They both play good defense. I still think E-Town's on-the-ball defense is as good as any team in the state. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what their points per game. I don't care. Their on-the-ball man-to-man defense by their guards is as good as any team in the state. And that's where they have, a distinct advantage. Because Cam Sherrard, Kaya Sherrard, Jaquias, Peanut, Camden, their on-the-ball defense outside makes it really hard for the other teams to get into their offensive flow on a regular basis.
I think they embrace contact.
100%. 100%. And that's the way defense is played. Defense is played with your feet and your body. Defense is not played with your hands until you do this. If you start reaching, that's not how you play defense. You play defense with your feet and your body, and then use your hands as tools. You don't use your hands. I've always been taught you don't use your hands as weapons to do all the work. You use your feet and your body to do all the work, and your hands deflect passes. Your hands get, that's what you, all that fun sort of stuff. Once you start reaching, that means you've stopped moving your feet and you stopped using your body to play defense. And now you're getting lazy. E-Town is not lazy on defense. They relish and welcome the challenge and embrace what's in front of them. Seriously. And it's going to be a great basketball game.
And outside of Miles Fields, they all come back next year.
Yeah. You get, Miles and Jacob Moberly, basically. So of your top 8, 9 players, all but 2 are coming back. And these guys have been playing together since they were in 4th grade. They all know each other. They all know each other.
Which is why they look so good out on the floor together.
And here's the other thing that people just, I think, dismiss. When you have kids that have been playing together that long, Kaya can look at Jaquias and say something, and Jaquias isn't going to take it as a prima donna. He's going to take it as a friend and dude, you need to step it up. They've been playing along together. Any one of them can get on any one of them, and every one of them will take it correctly because they know it ain't about. It's about, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not getting on you I'm not getting you on you. I'm getting on you for what you did. Let's go. We need to play better. And I think that's where E-Town is really good because those kids have been playing for so long. They know where everyone is at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They turned the ball over 4 times last night against LaRue. 4.
And they forced a lot.
Forced 13, but they turned the ball over 4 times. 4. You win a lot of games and only turn the ball over 4 times.
Overall thoughts on the 5th region tournament? I thought Taylor County did a heck of a job. And their gym, first time
that's
for
gorgeous.
me this year going into their gym.
Gorgeous. Great lighting also. Gorgeous gym. Nice and spacious. Still, the crowd is loud. Look, you have to also get LaRue County traveled very well. E-Town traveled well. Bardstown traveled well, right? And John traveled well. So tomorrow night's game, E-Town and Bardstown, that place is going to get packed. It's going to get loud. And it's just in
our area, I will argue probably 2 of the more obnoxious fan bases. Let's be honest. E-Town fans, you know who you are. You're loud. You're obnoxious a lot of times, but that's why we love you. You make the atmosphere fun. Bardstown the same way.
Yeah, it's fun. I agree. It's fun. It's just if you want to yell at the refs, yell at them. Shut up and watch. Make it a 5-second yell, not a 35-second rant, because a 35-second rant is what gets you kicked out.
Yep.
Just get up, yell, be done, and move on.
Which that's the thing I'm surprised at. We have not had any fans kicked out of the tournament.
Well,
yet.
just from what I've seen, no one passed the obnoxious level. I mean, no one passed that level of, dude, you need to go. No one. I don't think anyone even came close to it. Really, I don't. They said their piece and let's move on. You say your piece, let's move on. Let's move on. But nobody just wouldn't stop. And if you're one of those people that won't stop, you're getting booted. Period. And people don't have a choice. It's going to be a great basketball. It's going to be a great basketball game.
Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., 106.1 ESPN Radio. Listen online, ESPNRadio1061.com. Mike, I always appreciate your time coming in here talking. Whether it be football, hoops action this time of year. It's going to be a fun one to watch tomorrow night, and we will see you then.
Yep. I appreciate it, Trevor. It's always a pleasure coming in here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us here today on Heartland Sports Live. I'll be back with it next Monday. We'll cover the Sweet 16 Girls Tournament, which tips off this week, and so be listening out for that. E-Town Wednesday at noon against Bola East. You'll hear that with the KHSAA coverage here on 106.1 ESPN Radio. Have a fantastic sports week, and we'll see you back here next Monday, 5 until 6.